it's PressTheArcticGames.com here, and welcome to a blank white wall. Yay! The place that was previously my upstairs set is currently being renovated into my room, and the place that was my downstairs set was my room. So there's no real good place for me to be filming right now, except for this wall, which is in my room. So this is what you guys are gonna have to deal with. Sorry for no interesting background, but if you have suggestions for what I can put on this wall to make it more visually interesting, leave a comment down below and I will heed your advice, because this is very boring and I don't like it one bit. So without further ado, I'll actually get into the topic of this video, which is falsettos. If you don't know what falsettos is, it is a musical that I love and saw in person very recently. I considered myself a fan of falsettos before I saw it. I'd listened to the soundtrack a couple times over, and I liked it, and I loved it actually. It was a really good musical and I was really into it. Then I was driving, as you do a lot in Los Angeles, and there were a bunch of, I don't even know what those are called, you know, the little signs that are hanging off of street lamps and stuff? One of those, I don't know what those are called. And so there were those, and they were saying that falsettos was touring in Los Angeles, which I was into. I wanted to see it. I didn't think that I would see it. Wicked has toured here and stuff, and we didn't go see it. And I like Wicked, everyone likes Wicked. So I didn't expect to go see it. But then my dad was like, hey Presley, do you wanna go see falsettos? I was like, yeah, I sure do. And so we went and saw falsettos that weekend. It was a very spontaneous decision. It was 2 days later we went and saw falsettos. This is my two. It is two fingers. I don't know, I've been doing this a lot recently and I don't know why, and I kind of hate it. Anyways, we went and saw falsettos and it was a completely different experience than listening to the soundtrack. And I know everyone says that about every musical ever, oh, you gotta go see it in person, it doesn't compare to the soundtrack. But it was really true with falsettos. I was into falsettos, but I wasn't into falsettos, while with the basic musicals that I love, Be More Chill, Heathers, Hamilton, Mean Girls, stuff like that, I was into it. I was into those musicals when I first saw the soundtrack. I was obsessed. But with falsettos, I was into it, but I wasn't re-listening to it constantly because I'm a coward. And then I saw it in person, and oh my god, I am so much more obsessed now. Seeing falsettos in person is something that you need to do if you're a fan of falsettos, or if you're a fan of being gay. Go see it! It's so good! And the touring company is fantastic. It's amazing. Okay, so no tea, no shade, but touring companies aren't always as good as the Broadway stuff, and you will kind of feel it if you're seeing a touring show. You're okay, well, this is a touring show, it's not Broadway, this isn't Idina Menzel or George Salazar or anything. I don't know why those are not good actors to use. Okay, and you can kind of feel it too, so it's not you're watching it and you're oh, these are the great actors of Broadway, this is top tier, this is West End, this is the most iconic performance of my life. Usually when you're seeing a touring company, you'll like it because it's good and it's a musical, but it's not peak musical. But when I saw falsettos live, I was amazed. The touring company is incredible, and I'm trying to get interviews with them. So if any of them are watching this video, answer your emails from me and let me interview you, please. Thanks. So it was just this beautiful, beautiful experience. So if you don't know the plot of falsettos, I'm gonna talk about it. So if you wanna see falsettos completely blind with no perception of where the plot goes whatsoever, like my dad did, stop watching now. Go watch it, go see falsettos, and come back. So falsettos is a play about being gay in the 70s and 80s, kind of. It's this very complicated family dynamic. So I'm gonna use no names just so it's simpler for you guys to understand. So this woman, her husband leaves her to go be gay with another dude, and she falls in love with her gay ex-husband's psychiatrist, and then they have a kid, and it's this complex found family dynamic, except it's not really found family since they're all kind of related anyway. Yeah, it's complicated as a dynamic, but it's on purpose. It's not if you don't, it's supposed to be really complicated. You're not supposed to quite wrap your head around how it feels to be in that family dynamic, because it's a lot. It's a an interesting dynamic, to say the least. So the first half of the musical is a comedy, and I mean, the whole musical is a comedy, but it's kind of a drama comedy. But the first half is mostly comedy. There are some deep, serious moments that make me tear up a little bit, but the first half is just kind of like chill, funny, hilarious. Like from the first song, if you've listened to the soundtrack, you know the first song. I'm not allowed to say the lyrics on this YouTube channel, but you know, like people are laughing from the start. But apparently not everyone, because it's one of those musicals, like apparently Next to Normal. I haven't seen Next to Normal, but my parents have, where people like leave during the intermission, which sucks because what? I love falsettos. It was amazing, and I was like so pumped to see the next half of falsettos, but a bunch of people left and it made me super mad. So don't do that. That's rude. Also, like, how rude is that? If you're going to see a performance, don't leave halfway through unless your like house is on fire or your dog's getting murdered. Like, that's so mean to just like leave because you didn't like it. Like, I've seen stuff that I don't like. I've seen movies that I don't like. I don't leave. I wasn't like, this sucks, bye. That's very rude. Don't do that. So the second act is sort of transitioning into the AIDS crisis. And an interesting thing is this musical was originally written as two different musicals. So there was, the first one was written in the 70s, and it was the first act. And then they wrote the second act in the 80s during the AIDS crisis, and then combined them together into one musical. And so the second half does get into the AIDS crisis, and it's really, really upsetting, but like in a good way. It's like watching Endgame, no spoilers, but like, you know you're gonna cry watching Infinity War or Endgame. And so like, it's very, very, very emotional. I showed up full eyeliner, mascara, decked out, picture on the screen, and cried it all off because it was very sad. I was very sad. There's a lot of really, really, really good moments that are just like tearjerker to the extreme. And so what I was curious about is I was not alive in the 80s. Wow, surprise, you're 13. I wasn't alive in the 80s. I was alive in 2005. So not even the 90s. None of that stuff is familiar to me. I did not live through the AIDS crisis, and so I don't know how it felt. I know how the repercussions feel. I know how it feels to live in the LGBT plus community. And I'm not saying the LGBT plus community was the only community affected. A lot of people were affected by it, but we were hit pretty hard. And so I know how it feels to live in a generation after it happened. And so I know a lot of you guys are adults and you guys lived through it, even if you were a kid. Like, my dad was a kid when it happened, and I'm sure a lot of you guys might have been too. And so I'm interested in seeing you guys' perspective on what happened, having lived through it and having experienced the AIDS crisis and having experienced the repercussions. I'm not a gay man, clearly, and so I also don't know, I wasn't hit the hardest. My community wasn't hit the hardest. Lesbians weren't hit as hard as gay men were. And so I'm really curious for you guys' perspective on what happened, if you guys lived through it, or if you guys have experience with people who were very deeply affected by it. Both my parents are not part of the LGBT plus community, and they're the only people who I've really like reached out to and talked to about it. So they don't have like the deep perspectives, but I'm sure some of you guys are. So I'm interested in having a conversation with you guys. Now that comments are back on, time to be unnecessarily happy and energetic after that topic I just brought up. Comments are back. Thank God. I have not been making videos recently because my comments were disabled because I'm a minor. I think you guys know my opinions on that. I'm trying not to make YouTube mad, but like, what was that? Why'd you do that? It's back. You guys can talk to me now. So yeah, I'm making YouTube videos again too, because I don't like making YouTube videos. I don't really see the point in making YouTube videos if I can't talk to you guys. I make YouTube videos to have a connection to a community and to hang out with you guys and like hear your thoughts on things, and it's really discouraging to upload a video and see 0 comments on it. Not because you guys are being like petty and not commenting on my videos, but because you can't. So there's that. go ahead and comment on the video if you've seen falsettos, if you liked falsettos, your favorite moments in falsettos, whether it's the soundtrack or not. Go listen to the soundtrack, go see it if it's touring near you. It's so, so, so good, and I'd love to hear your humble onions on it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to press that subscribe button down below to see more videos like this, which I will be making. Hold me to that. I'm really good at procrastinating making YouTube videos. I'm gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. No, I will not. We're not doing daily vlogging. We haven't been doing daily vlogging for like a year. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.